Alright, that tensioning arm, I couldn't put it on until I put the other roller on, and that needed to be cleaned up, but I did that this evening before it got dark, and didn't have enough time to do the other pulley, the big step pulley. And actually I can't find one of the step pulleys, which is a little disquieting, but I have every confidence that I will find it because I know it's not the kind of thing I'm going to accidentally throw away. Just have temporarily misplaced it. Anyways, so I'm going to put this together tonight. Doesn't matter which way this goes, at least I don't think so. But what I thought was unusual about this, that I just noticed tonight, is that these rollers actually look like they're made in 3 pieces. There's actually a almost looks like a weld point right down the middle there, but if you look real closely, see that little line right there? I didn't think much of that before. I thought that was a casting line, but the way this is made, it seems more obvious to me now that this would have to be a separate piece that was inserted into the end of the tube. This is probably a big long tube they had at the factory, and they would just cut off lengths of it to make the rollers and then cast these pieces and stick them in the end. The dead giveaway, look at that. See the gap? This one literally is opening up. So I'm going to try and tap that gently and see if it goes back down. So let's try the dead blow mallet. Oh yeah, that closed right up. There we go. Alright, I guess what's going to hold that together, keep from separating, is just the fact that it's going to be... Well, actually, I can't tell you what would hold that together. Keep that from separating. Hey, let's just hope it doesn't. Alright, so I'm going to pop this bearing in. Probably want to put this in first. Duh. I love how I go through the trouble of tapping that in and just putting the shaft in makes it pop back out. It's like, why did I even bother? It's such a loose fit on these bearings. And these are definitely the right size bearings. You know? So I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. Maybe a millimeter wasn't a millimeter back then. Maybe the standard wasn't what it is today. That one wants to pop. All right, let's try this a different way. Let's take this out. There we go. That works out better. All right. Alright, let me make some room up here and get that heavy headstock. I'm calling the whole top section of the drill press the headstock. Alright, so unlike some of the other things where I have to go back and look at the video to figure out how to put it back together, this little project tonight of putting these rollers in is going to be pretty easy because the rollers themselves are identical, but once you put the shafts in, the shafts are different, and that's what dictates which roller goes where and how they go in. So, for instance, I know that this roller, which is the one I just cleaned, is the inbound roller that goes in here and is fixed, meaning it's not the one that swings on the arm to tension it. And the reason why I know that is because the cap that holds it in has 3 screws, and the cap that holds the one in on the arm has 2 screws. So this is the cap that holds this one in, and this cap has this long part that protrudes down, and it's actually got a metal pin going right through there that, well, lo and behold, engages the slot on top of this. So that also tells me how this... Oh, you dumb fool. Yeah, Genius Steve just realized he didn't put the nuts back on this one. Anyways, that's what keeps that from happening. Oh well. So I'll put the two nuts on there and and then try this again. Alright. Don't know how much of this battery is left on the old bloggy tonight. We'll see what we can't get done before it pukes out on us. I guess I have to squeeze this end down to get it to fit on there. I think what I ended up doing before was I ended up putting a screwdriver blade. Well, last night the battery went dead while I was tightening that roller up, but I finished tightening it up and I installed it. The only thing I haven't done is the cap that I put in the top here. I've got to find the screws for it. I've got those, they got to be cleaned up, and then once I install the screws this will be in, but I've got it in now and I just wanted to show you how cool is this. But it's so quiet and so smooth now compared to what it was when I was taking this thing apart. So there's a vast improvement right there. Knew that sounded bad. But I've got to actually quit working on this for now because I've got to get back to the Oliver tractor and the steering problem. So, well, I was trying to get the steering gear back into the Oliver, but it still is rumbling thunder quite a bit. The sky still looks pretty gray, so I'm just trying to clean up this pulley for the Sipp. And I just had to put a new pad on because I couldn't get into this tight shoulder here because the one I was using, all the outer bristles were broken off. But these bristle pads are working pretty well at taking the rust off and leaving a pretty nice finish. Alright, that one's pretty much done. I just got to wipe down that oxide residue that's on there. Several episodes ago, one of you guys was kind enough to leave a comment on one of the Sipp videos with a link to the Vintage Machinery website, I believe is what it's called. I'll put the name up on the screen. But I just want to call you guys that like old machines like this. If you haven't checked out that site, definitely check it out. That's actually a organization down there, and I think I want to say Keith Rucker is he's involved with that organization. He's the gentleman who had the video on YouTube about his Model 847 Wells Index mill. That was basically the last thing I needed to convince me to plunk down the cash and buy that 847 that I ended up buying, which still isn't down here in the shop, but that's another story. Anyways, I went and saw the link, and it was actually it was an advertisement that they had on their website, a scan of an old advertisement for the Sipp drill press. It was one of the ones I had already had. I had found 3 or 4 actually, plus I had also found some patent drawings for the original patent for some of the, you know, the belt shifting and stuff like that, which I'll feature those in probably some upcoming videos at some point. But anyways, so I was submitting some more, some of the documents that I had submitted them to the site. I just did that last night, so they've got to basically, you know, when they get a chance, they'll probably put those up on the site and add those to the page. They've got a manufacturer's index on that site, and if you go and look under Sipp drill presses, you're going to see, you know, what they've got there, and they only had a couple of things for Sipp, so I gave them a few more things to add. And then also they had a patent already, but it was a patent actually for an automatic feed mechanism that they must have added to later drill presses, or maybe it was an option, but I got a feeling it was probably just added to later drill presses. My patent was an earlier patent, which I think was actually for this actual drill press, because it's very, very similar. And that's going to be really helpful when I explain what's missing on the main drive. I'll get into that later. But one of the things that Dan, the gentleman who I was corresponding with at the website, he had said, you know, if I wanted to, I could, because they don't have any photographs of any. He said if I want, I could submit some photos. And he knew I was restoring it, but he suggested submit some photos of it, you know, before the restoration, and then you could submit some more after. And I said, you know, the funny thing is, because I do these videos, oh, jeez. I just had about a 3-pound moth. Oh, what is that? Oh, that's not even a, that's a hornet. Son of a gun. Hornet got down here earlier today. He's been down here all day, and his time just expired. Okay. So anyways, I cleaned up this pulley today, and I found the other pulley I was missing the other night. So I figured, there you go. That's about all I could do for before and afters. This is your before, this is your after. So, just thought I'd mention that. That's probably not very funny to anybody but me.